justifying what the South Africans are doing, but one of the videos that we have intercepted so far, a South African lady was advising other national, we don't know where the person is coming from, that look, not because we hate you, you go to your country and help your government to build your country. In fact, that video is on viral. Does this statement, a profound statement, is it justifiable to spark that xenophobic attack? Apart from the beatings and attacks, the physical attacks, is this statement justifiable?
Yes, so good afternoon once again. In fact, I also watched that video, and the national indicated that
Doc, respectfully, please hold on. For the sake of the listeners and those who just joined us, let's go to the control room and play the video that I was talking about. Let's play the video to stand as actuality for people to be well comprehend what we're doing. So let's roll the video.
This thing of you guys moving from one country to the other, don't want this as African people anymore. We are tired of seeing African migrants moving all over the world, refusing to fix your own countries. Now we're making it very clear to you guys, Utitina, we don't want you here. We want you to fix your countries. Now you came here with a traveling document. You came with a passport. You know that you are a visitor, but now you decided to come and integrate in our communities. You know very well that what you have done is wrong. How many children do you have here? We can come to Ghana and do what you're doing. Now you are carrying a bucket. It's 11 a.m. You are supposed to be fighting the government of Ghana there to ensure that they are getting things right.
No, there's no fight in Ghana. You must fight once a day. Passport. Where's the passport? Let me see your passport. Let me see. Luna. Okay, tell me, who's the police officer that you are bribing to certify these things for you? Don't blind. Baba, let me tell you, I'm not police. These things, let me tell you, you know by law you're not supposed to certify as an immigrant. You're not allowed to certify your passport. No. Okay, why do you certify your passport in a foreign land? Okay. Let's just start there. Why do you certify your passport in a foreign land?
You see, it was raining.
I follow you guys now on Facebook.
It was raining these days. Then when you go out with the passport, sometimes it gets spoiled. That's why I satisfy it so that it won't spoil.
Baba, Ghana don't do that. Ghana don't do that.
All right, sharp. Let me show you.
This African country that is.
Let me show you that when you are abusing our systems, on the 10th of April, the 10th of April, you entered your country when? The very same day you came back when? Yeah, the proof. Proof. Here's the proof.
Video I don't know if the guy is a Ghanaian, but I can hear Ghana. So let me also announce that we have Professor Daniel Kipu. So Nyuze is an associate professor Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, has also joined us. So Doc, so let's go, sir. Dr. Paulo, let's go.
Yes. So in fact, I watched the video just as you did, and you can see some of the episodes that we've not even seen. I also watched one coming from Congo. A national from Congo was also attacked before this one on Ghana. Now, but what this tells us is that South Africans generally do not appreciate their own history. This is very recent history. In the 80s, in the 90s, before 94, a lot of Africans put their lives on the line. Angola was there for South Africa. Tanzania was there for South Africa. Mozambique was there for South Africa, offering places for the liberation fighters to settle and provided bases for them as military bases. Nigeria provided a lot of support, free visas for South African activists to come, and they were supported in terms of the struggle against the regime, the apartheid regime. Now, I think that South Africans need to appreciate the fact that as Africans, we are charting a path of what the AU calls Agenda 2063, which means a borderless Africa, where every African is respected. Now, even if I outlive my visa in South Africa or Nigeria, it is not the duty of citizens to heckle me the way they do. If someone thinks that I am staying in their jurisdiction illegally per their laws, I'm supposed to simply be pulled in terms of to be dignified. So I am moved to the authorities to respond to questions. So we all have to condemn these attacks, and I do support the AU and the other regional organizations in condemning these attacks. My fear is that, as you indicated earlier, Ziga, these attacks repeat almost all the time. And they are not new. You can see them in the history of Africa. In the immediate years of independence, we saw a lot of retaliatory foreign policies from Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and other parts of Africa. So you develop a foreign policy against my nationals, and I also retaliate. Fortunately, the AU and ECOWAS and the rest have helped to settle these tensions. But what we see here just speaks of a bigger economic problem. Now, one of the things you see, and we are going to talk about that a little later, the aspect of Galamsey. A lot of people are talking about economic issues, but to come back to the xenophobia matter, what South Africans are looking for is a sustained economy. It's an economy that is inclusive. Unfortunately, the frustrations that come from an economy that is not inclusive is what you see. So I expected South Africans to attack the real people who are holding onto their lands. Well, I don't support attacks. I expect them to channel their frustrations towards people who are controlling lands, towards people who are controlling economic and business spaces, towards governments that are not contributing to inclusive growth. That is where I expect the frustrations to be channeled. Now, they posed a question to the guy. They said, why wouldn't you go back to your country and let things work? Now, so the same question can go back to those who are attacking the gentleman from Ghana and Congo. Why don't you channel your frustrations towards the government of South Africa? What we see is that the last government was attacked by Donald Trump for trying to redistribute lands. That is where the problem lies. The fact that you are a majority, you are 70%, 90%, 96%, and a tiny minority is controlling lands, a tiny minority is controlling some businesses and directing the nature of your economic spaces. That is where the problem lies. And so for me, I think this anger is misdirected. This anger is ill-informed. It lacks historical understanding of South Africa itself. That is what Nelson Mandela did. He was even imprisoned, but he came out and said that South Africa is for all of us, for Indians, it's for South Africans, it's for even Africans and other foreign nationals who came and put South Africans under slavery, or put in slavery because of the apartheid regime. So for me, I think that the whole world should join hands in condemning what is happening in South Africa. The bit is that this is not a one-off event. It comes and goes. But I see the South African government feeling or looking helpless in this matter. The reason is very simple. These are also political issues. Now, just like what we saw in Ghana in the early days of independence, you are unable to provide for your citizens. You are unable to involve everyone in development. You have allowed the economy to be controlled by capitalists who serve their interests. Now, what the politicians, I'm told, I've had some conversation with some people, friends from South Africa, what the politicians are simply benefiting now is that they have they have turned the blame of economic prosperity on foreign nationals who are in South Africa. So rather than taking the blame that there is rising unemployment in South Africa, as a government, as a public servant, I am supposed to contribute to expanding the economy. They are rather benefiting from these attacks. And for me, that is part of the reason why it is difficult to fight these attacks head on. If they come and go, and you as a government, you have not been able to sustainably, tackle this issue, I see a lot of politics playing in here. After all, if the government of Ghana today, His Excellency Mahama and all his party successfully turns the conversation about unemployment on Nigerians, what we are going to see in Mokola, what we are going to see in KJTR and circles is that Ghanaian citizens will rather attack Nigerians rather than asking the government to do the right thing. So politicians, policymakers in South Africa, by virtue of the fact that South Africans are attacking foreigners, that pressure has been reduced. By this, it is very unfortunate that fellow Africans are being attacked like this. We have South Africans in Ghana, we have South Africans everywhere. Now, one of the misconceptions is that the South African nationals do not go to other places just as other sub-Saharan African citizens do. But mind you, Ziga, whatever you are doing in anybody's country, whether an expatriate or a hustler, you are a cherished citizen of Africa. And so for me, I think that all forces need to join hands. I think that the AU would need to start thinking about things like even SADC itself. Unfortunately, it is South Africa that controls the Southern African Development Community. And I see a lot of limited efforts in the government, in the South African government, trying to solve this situation. So to round it up, one of the things that I would say is that, look, whilst condemning the attacks on other African nationals, I simply think that as governments of Africa, we need to go beyond slogans and work seriously on decent jobs for our citizens.
Okay.
You see Ghanaians roaming in different places with expired papers, undocumented migrants. And part of the reason is that these people have families to feed, but you come to the economy and the economy is expanding in the direction of some people who can only afford. So the economy is developing in a privileged direction. So for me, even though we are condemning these attacks, that question that was asked, that you go back to your home country and push your government to develop or to contribute to the development of the country is really important. All these things are simply happening because of that neighborhood problem. Lesotho people have to go to South Africa, Malawians have to go to Zimbabweans. So that pressure on the limited resources in South Africa is causing some of these things. So whilst we condemn the actions by South Africans, I also think that we need to also particularly work on domestic economies. If you look at what happened in Iran, imagine that Dangote did not build a cement factory or did not build a refinery. The whole of West Africa would have collapsed perhaps in terms of the economy, because prices of things would have been very uncontrollable. So for me, I think we need to be contributing to very huge private sector development that can absorb majority of the populations. And this is most likely going to, contribute to decent traveling around Africa, but not hustling or very less dignifying travels as we see the gentleman holding those papers and he can just talk less. He simply cannot talk because it is most likely he's holding papers that have outlived their dates that he's supposed to stay in South Africa. So for me, while condemning the South African citizens, I think that we need to reflect and look at the structure of our domestic economies as Africans. Thank you.
All right, Doc, I'll come back and ask you the security in South Africa? Do they have a porous security? Because how come that they can't prevent this one? Every 2 years we experience this xenophobic attack. Is it because the aggrieved people they always overwhelm the security in South Africa? I'll come back and ask you that. So hold on for me. Let me engage Professor Daniel Kipo. So Doug, if you read what the UN said, they described the whole thing as a despicable act and an embarrassment to continental solidarity. Now tell us, apart from this condemnation from the AU, what else AU can do to punish South Africa?
Much, and thanks to dear viewers and listeners. Certainly this is a bad day for Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, we of the black skin, that we are supposed to have been of the same people, of the same background, building the kind of African unity that our forefathers, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Kenyatta, and the rest of them, including Nelson Mandela. That is the dream. They want to see a united Africa, but unfortunately, South Africa is going in opposite direction. Yes, what can AU do, or what can a UN do? I think the first thing they have condemned, but I am thinking that we need to back it with some action. At least African Union possibly can go an extra mile to take some diplomatic action against South Africa. Yeah. Some of the things they can do is that they can just say that while South Africa, for going against the whole protocols that we have set up, they can suspend even the country, its membership. And sometimes I think that we need to back the talk with action. South Africa could be suspended from the membership of African Union, and that is a very drastic measure, because we cannot continue to be condemning this act, but South Africa some action. SADC can even though SADC is under South Africa, all this body must come in. West Africa, ECOWAS, we all need to team up and take some action, drastic measure against South Africa. The leaders of South Africa must be taken on, because these things that they are doing is unacceptable, and it shows how lawless the country is becoming, because the citizens do not have the power of the law to go and inspect people's travel documents to know whether they are valid or not. That is the duty of South African immigration officers. It's not the civilians. Yeah. And I think that we need that diplomatic pressure. Suspension of South African membership to African Union and all the regional bodies, SADC, West Africa, our body, ECOWAS. We need East African community, all this together to SADC come together and say that we are all together putting a ban on South Africa or suspending South Africa. And I think that pressure is very, very important. The ambassadors that are even assigned to that country can even come together and say that, well, if our citizens cannot stay in South Africa, then we don't also need to stay there. And that diplomatic pressure will go and begin to see countries withdrawing their ambassadors from South Africa and their high commissioners. And I think that is the language that the South African authority may possibly listen, rather than just condemn. We need action, and this is the time to take action against South African government officials. And once they do that, they will take action on the citizens, and some decency and order will be restored to the country.
All right, in the shortest time, we're switching to our next topic, that is the Galamsey, our main topic. But let's stay in this a little bit. I'm told that Mr. Kabori, Mohammed Kabori, is the public relations officer, Edema and Minerals Lands and Natural Resources, has also joined us to digest with you the Galamsey issue. But let's stay in this a little bit. I remember in 2009, before the COVID, we recorded the first COVID case in Africa. Buhari closed his border, saying that he wouldn't allow anybody to. He flouted the free trade law, the ECOWAS protocol, and we are calling for a sanction. People were saying that because the ECOWAS parliament is situated in Nigeria, there wouldn't be any sanction. The ECOWAS is a toothless bulldog. They wouldn't have the balls to sanction Buhari and Nigerians. Today, the same thing is happening. The AU Pan-African Parliament is situated in South Africa. Now, Prof, tell us if AU is to sanction South Africa or to punish them, what would be the form of punishment that will hit South Africa for them to refrain from that? Because they are doing well, their GDP, everything, they are living like Europeans and all that. So sometimes it boggles my mind that what will be the sanction that will hit them for them to refrain from that?
Yes, the sanction regime, as I said, one of the drastic one is suspension.
Suspension from what?
From African Union.
Would they lose much? Because we know that now Morocco is not part of African Union, and even when it comes to West Africa, we have had a couple of countries who have just left the ECOWAS, and they are doing well according to them. So if South Africa is not part of AU, what would they stand to lose?
Yes, they may not feel it, but like as you said, Morocco left and is back. So sometimes they will see that there's the need for them to come back because South Africa alone cannot survive it. And also remember that we have the continental free trade area. They are all part of the sanctions. And once you suspend their membership and you begin to tighten the economic grip, for instance, South Africans cannot travel to African countries. It certainly will hit the economy because we have businesses of South Africa that are operating in other countries. There are South Africans who are operating businesses in Ghana and Nigeria. So once the sanctions start and they extend it to government officials and the citizens, it will really hit South Africa. And that message was very strong enough for the country to set up. And I believe that suspension should be. Because South Africa, I don't know what other sanction we can take. The soft power is what we do. Impose some sanctions on them, impose some restrictions on movement of government officials. And even as they cannot travel within Africa, they cannot trade within Africa. That is a good start. And those sanctions, they will feel it. And I can assure you that the state was set up. That is one of the things I think we can start with.
All right. Okay. Doc, thank you very much. So let's dissolve this issue and switch to another topic because we are waiting for Honorable Oko Van Der Poel, who accepted to be with us. In fact, he's the chairman of Foreign Affairs Committee, Select Committee in Parliament. He accepted to be with us even 2 minutes before kicking off the program. He talked to us. I don't know why it's still not on. So let's switch a little bit. But before we switch, let me go to Dr. Paulo and ask him this. Doctor, people are saying that South Africans, there are a lot of illiterates are there. That is why they can't see the better things coming to their country. That's why they do the xenophobic attack. But I just checked and realized that South African has about 92% literacy rate in their country. Means people go to school a lot, get the education. So a literacy rate can be justified for this. Hello, Doc.
What again is the problem? Ziga, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Good. Yeah. So
just a minute. Just a minute on this. Just a minute.
Yeah. Sure. Literacy rate alone does not solve very important problems. It is all about governance. It's all about a certain tradition. As I said, if you look at Southern Africa, South Africa and Zimbabwe have some of the highest literacy rates. If you look at what is happening in Nigeria, Boko Haram, it is not as a result of illiteracy. It is about a certain ideology, a certain mindset, a mindset that has been produced both by politicians and citizens, that somebody is the one causing my pain rather than I can work on the situation where I find myself.
Yeah.
So when the new government tried working on the situation, trying to redistribute lands, it became an enemy of powerful actors in the international system. So for me, I think it is about a certain narrative. So the narrative is so powerful. Remember, it is the same narrative that Mugabe used to collect white farms. The same narrative that Mandela used to collect South Africa for South Africans, so to speak. Now, what we see in South Africa today is a complete breakdown of the system. And this system is not broken down because the system cannot work. It is simply a connection between all the forces that matter. It is a language that politicians understand. It is a language that the security people understand. And it is a language that the ordinary citizen understand.
Yeah.
That, look, we are not going anywhere simply because our neighbors are with us. That is the unfortunate thing. And that is why I'm saying that what is happening in South Africa is simply a complete misunderstanding of the history of South Africa itself and the direction that Africa is going today.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much.